Hey, Greg Treziak here with Pragmatic Works. Today I'm going to be helping out moderating a lot of the awesome intergalactic Learn with the Nerds festivities we've got going on today. And you know what? We're even going to be raffling off throughout the entire day subscriptions to our on-demand learning, which includes the awesome CertXP. Make sure you stay engaged in the chat today. That is going to give you the best chances to win. First off, we're going to start with an amazing interview with a very, very awesome HR representative, Megan Richardson. And we're going to learn a lot about what certifications mean for employees and employers. We'll see that right now. Welcome in everybody to Certification Schmertification. I'm here with Megan Richardson. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Megan, what do you do professionally that gives you that insight and experience into this realm?
So I am the Senior Vice President / Chief Strategy Officer of Dynamic Corporate Solutions. So we are an HR consulting firm that supports clients nationally in 38 of the 50 states. I have clients who have 2 employees down to 20,000 employees, and we support all of our clients in a variety of ways. So that can be through recruitment, through education, through affirmative action plans, through investigations when you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing. Anything under HR, you name it, we do it.
That's awesome.
Yep. And then personally, I have been in HR for more than 25 years, and I am nationally certified, and I speak frequently at local, state, and national conferences.
That's awesome. So you really have that full experience of this is where it was, this is where it is now, this is the direction it's going, and seeing the ebbs and flows and tons of changes that have kind of been happening in that space.
Absolutely. And it's wonderful to have the experience of kind of being a practitioner myself, being behind the desk, and then now on the other side of that table, being able to advise clients on not only best practices, but as you said, kind of where things are heading.
Awesome. So you're going to be the HR source, the expert today. So I just kind of want to lead you through a couple of questions, both from that employee perspective to talk about certifications. You know, this is certification, smartification. So, you know, that's in the essence the question. It's like, is that worth it? Does that have a driving force in today's job market? So we'll have a lot of questions geared towards that, but I'm excited to have you.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Big
question I have is, what is a driving force for getting certifications right now? Because a lot of people argue like, oh, well, you know, you don't need that. That's just a piece of paper, or they have tons of random reasoning. So what's your kind of count back to that? Why is it important?
I feel in HR, when we're looking at candidates, when we're looking at who are high potentials within the organization, we're looking at people who really embrace that style of continuous learning. And technology is moving, I hate to say it because it makes me sound old, but faster than ever. It's really difficult for people to keep up, especially we have AI coming into things now. And so it's really great to know that, you know, not only are you, you know, familiar or having working knowledge of a technology, but you are truly an expert at it. And that certification really proves that excellence.
And I think too, you know, there's always this big debate about like experience and knowledge and things like that. But even in this tech space, right? And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like even as someone gets, you know, older, they've dealt with crystal reports, something older technology, that continuous learning mindset is what carries through and makes candidates stronger despite any differences in age, anything.
Absolutely. And I love to see that. You know, I love to see that at any age in a candidate, at any age in an employee, just someone who really embraces that idea of, you know, always up for a challenge and, you know, eager to, you know, grow with the organization, move with the organization. Those are the type of people that, you know, not only do I want to hire, but I want to stick around.
What are some of the employer-specific benefits for getting that continuous learning mindset, right? I always talk about the data mindset in my classes. So what's that continuous learning mindset look like from the employer side?
You know, great question. It's really, for me, it's indicative of someone who wants to continuously improve themselves. You know, I love that idea of, you know, I'm always a work in progress. You know, it's something that, you know, I want to continue to learn and continue to grow and expand my skill set. and challenge myself and try new things. I really think it's indicative of, the personality or the mindset of a really great employee.
If we just hypothetically had two ideal candidates, they're great. One has done a little extra legwork to actually get those certifications on paper.
Yes.
The other hasn't. Is that going to weigh into a lot of the decision making?
Absolutely. I'm not even going to let you finish that question. Yes, absolutely. That's going to have a huge impact. Again, not only is it you prove that you can finish something, again, a lot of times when I'm sourcing for people and I'm looking at, did they get a college degree? College degrees are not the end all be all, especially right now. But I love to see, hey, you set out, you had a mindset, you worked hard, you accomplished something. Something else I'm going to tell you, and I'm personally struggling with this right now, trying to help a client, but people say they're experts in things, and then I send them to a client, and they are not experts. Yeah, they can maybe answer one or two of my screening questions, me not as a data expert. I think it sounds like they know what they're talking about, but as an HR person, I'm really relying on those certifications to be able to say, yes, absolutely, stamp of approval. This person understands the nuts and bolts and the ins and outs of this type of work, as opposed to just, hey, I've had 5 years. Well, yeah, maybe you had 5 years at a very high level exposure and not 5 years of that really in-depth, as you said, boots on the ground knowledge. So I love certifications because as someone who is not in the tech industry, it lets me know that yes, absolutely, this person is a true expert in this area.
I'm glad you mentioned that kind of follow through. I think about the golf swing. It's so easy, especially in my own career change, right? Because I'm a former high school educator. I done a bunch of stuff, and then I started that whole journey. And part of the reason I'm here is I use Pragmatic Works stuff. And I always think that initial follow through, I was like starting all these programs, like I'm going to do project management, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get all these little things. And there's only a handful that I actually finished. And that follow through was what I think stuck.
Absolutely.
The ones that I didn't, I was like, oh man, I don't want to talk about this. It's so easy to start, but finishing is the harder part.
Absolutely. You really have to have that grit and determination, to really see it through. And so I love to see that. Again, those types of things are indicative of behaviors and personality and follow through that just make a really good, well-rounded employee.
So I'm from like an individual perspective. All right, if I'm an individual, I'm in a career or some situation I'm a little bit done with. I have good experience there, I do good work, but I'm ready to make a change. What are some steps or some things to kind of be aware of, keeping in mind certifications for an individual in that situation? I'm ready to make a change. What should I start with?
I think it's really important to understand, and begin with the end in mind, right? So, where do you want to be? Right? Where is this journey going to take you ultimately? And then choosing the right certifications that are going to, work with that. LinkedIn is a great, opportunity. That's wonderful. But really, I think highlighting on resumes, because I don't think a lot of individuals recognize how many resumes recruiters go through when they're looking for a position.
I assume it's so many.
So many. And, so many of my clients now are utilizing AI when they're doing that initial screen. So I'm going to give you guys a little inside resume hack here for anybody who might be, sourcing for this. Looking at the job posting and then curtailing your resume with those keywords, search words, help you get through the initial AI scan. So that's going to be kind of start one. But highlighting those certifications as one of the top things on your resume. Here's my name, here are my certifications. Because I'm looking at a resume for like 7 seconds, maybe 8. So you really have to catch my eye in those 7 or 8 seconds. So highlighting certifications at the very top of that resume so people really understand, like, okay, great, this is an expert in this area, moving on, yes, in the yes pile, right?
For sure.
So really want to make sure we're highlighting those. I hope, does that answer your question?
That certainly does.
Okay.
Because I'm just thinking about like, okay, someone's making this change. How do I stand out? I'm starting the process. I'm learning. I'm engaging.
Yep.
Not only from the AI perspective, I think that's great insight, and that's where we're going, right? That's
Absolutely.
Where the world's going.
We're already there.
But then also from, hey, if I get this in front of somebody, I've really got to put that boom statement.
Absolutely.
So 2 degrees of why certifications are a really good ad, for sure.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Now let's hear from Jordan Murphy and his pathway to become one of the premier consultants and what certifications meant for him.
So my name is Jordan Murphy, and I am a Power BI developer and a trainer for the Department of Veterans Affairs, where I work with a team of about 8,000 Power BI developers throughout the organization, providing them with support, guidance, and training on anywhere from basic to advanced topics in Power BI. In terms of certifications, way I communicate those is I'll go out on LinkedIn and I'll say advertise, post. I've obtained the new certification. It's in like the top line of my LinkedIn. That when you first look at it, it says DP 500, 600, 900, PL 300 certified. So that's the first thing a recruiter would see when they look at it. And then as well at the top of my resume, I have it there, certified in such and such right at the top of my resume, so that if somebody looks at my resume, that's one of the first things they see. And years ago, I used to write resumes for professionals, and I told them you have to pass the fold test. Basically, if I fold your resume in half, and I just look down the left side of your resume, starting with like the first portion of the paragraphs at the top of your resume, and then everything down, your bullet statements on the left-hand side, is it going to tell me everything I need to know about you as far as what you've achieved and the results you obtain in your previous roles? So it's absolutely important to have those certifications, education right up front, so that when a recruiter looks at your resume, they see that right away. Technology doesn't rest, not for a nanosecond, nor do the companies provide training and certification and this preparation. So what I find is great is I can go back, because you guys are constantly updating the content within CertXP and then the different offerings that you have. And to me, being able to stay abreast of everything available through Pragmatic Works, either through YouTube or the Stream Pro subscription series that I have, or CertXP, helps me help my client stay abreast of all the latest and greatest technologies and train them on that. I was already in preparation for my DP 600 when Pragmatic Works launched the CertXP program, and I jumped on it. And just the gamification of the learning and the ability to jump kind of back and forth and around, and then go back and really hone your skills in a specific area with CertXP was fantastic. And I've recommended, I don't know, a dozen other people minimum, sign up for CertXP, because it really did make the difference. Had it not been for CertXP, I would have absolutely not made it past the DP 600. You don't want to settle on what you already know. Constantly seek self-improvement. And that was something the military really drove into us as a tenet of just the core of who we were in the military. And this self-improvement, obtaining the certification in a topic, it seemed to be the next logical step for me. And obtaining these certifications really highlighted that I know what I'm doing in that field, and gives that employer and that contractor the confidence in me to know that I know what I'm doing. So when I'm providing support to their customers, that I am a subject matter expert in that field. I've done, I don't know, the app in a day, paginated reports in a day, dashboard in a day. I think I did a Power Automate in a day as well. And all of those have helped me in my role in my career, in different roles, and have helped me walk up that step, to the next level. From what I've learned from you in my certification journey, I've had over a 50% increase in salary in the last 2.5 years. And I credit like 25% of that to you guys. Like, if it weren't for what I've learned from you as a company, I would not have been ready for that next level.
So kind of circling back to that employer perspective, right? We've set up continuous learning in an organization. We want people to grow. What are some things that can really help that process from employer to employee? Setting up that environment, making it friendly, making it fun, actually getting people to get certified, spend that time, Sometimes it's going to be, oh, I've got 20 extra minutes, I'm going to study, right? How might that look for that kind of pipeline?
I think from an organizational standpoint, you really have to go into it with intention, right? So we have to be able to fully support our folks if you're going to embrace a culture of continuous learning, which we all want to do. We have to be able to support employees from a time perspective. Hey, I understand you're going to pause on this project so that you can work a little bit on your certification. It could be monetarily, where they provide either X amount of dollars of reimbursement or, some sort of, exchange program. But I think that, it's really important right now, whether you're a small organization or a large organization, because when we look at what we call an HR total comp, right? So there's TCC, which is total cash comp, which means this is the money that's going to be in your paycheck, right? And then there's total comp. And total comp is going to swoop in all kinds of great benefits like PTO or medical leave or all kinds of good stuff, right? Reimbursement for learning, certifications, things of that nature. That's part of total comp.
Adding up that package.
Exactly.
This is what I'm going to get when I'm here.
Exactly. And I really encourage all of my clients to really sell that. That's something that you're providing that's a bonus that not everybody does. And so, you should have a page on your website which says, this is what your experience is going to look like if you're an employee, and here's all the great things we're doing. And certifications need to be a part of that, right? Because if someone's looking and they're weighing their options of, hey, do I want to go to employer A or employer B? In order to be that employer of choice, you need to have that culture of continuous learning. And yes, I'm going to invest in you, right? Just like you're investing your time with the organization. So it's a trade, and it's a mutual partnership. So I think that's really important. And then from a large company perspective, retention is really important when you look at large organizations, and keeping people engaged in jobs. So, there may not be a lot of opportunity for upward mobility in your organization. You might be in the same job for, 5-10 years, which for, anybody millennial, Gen Z, Gen Alpha is like a death sentence, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be in the same job for 5 or 10 years. So giving them opportunities for learning, with certifications, getting them out, exposed to other things, makes them feel continuously engaged. It makes them feel challenged. So even if they can't move positions per se, they're still advancing, which is kind of taking care of what that need is intrinsically in this generation.
That is so outstanding you said that, because I always see so many reports. Well, it's always one, millennials are killing the napkin industry. But but you're correct. So much data shows that movement, right? Wanting to move. And I see so often, sometimes people will take that pay cut because
Absolutely.
They can learn, they can grow, and they feel more a part of something.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because it is so the case, and at least I see so much of it. Even people I train, they're like, I'm so happy I can be here because I'm learning something new. I'm not stagnating in whatever position this might be. That's awesome.
They just feel as though the organization is investing in them as an individual so that they can continue to grow. Because I do the same thing. I train people all the time. And just to be able to say, the organization chose me and knows that if they invest in me, that I'm going to turn around and be successful in this. It's something that, again, helps to solidify that relationship. And, turnover is one of the largest costs to an organization. So continuing to engage employees in that way and make them feel valued and respected and part of the organization just helps with all of those numbers.
That's awesome. Also, too, that certification is that end oh, hey, we went full circle. Everybody's Absolutely. Happy. I've got the skills, and, hopefully they stay within the organization. But if Absolutely. They don't, they're also way better in a position to just, globally.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So, thinking of that question, that culture of learning, what are some pitfalls that an employer might fall into where they want to promote that culture of learning, they start doing it, but they're implementing some things a little bit improperly? What are some pitfalls you've seen where the intention's there, but the delivery doesn't follow through?
So certainly not supporting employees from a time perspective is probably the largest one.
Like, hey, go do this on your own.
Exactly. Go do this on your own. Go pay for it on your own, and we'll, get you a cake when you graduate. That kind of thing.
Yeah, buddy, pat on the back.
Exactly. So, if you know that your employee is getting a certification and they come to you and say, hey, can I put this to the side so that I can work on this? Can I leave a little early so that I can take care of something? We want to be supportive of that. I think the other largest pitfall is putting too many parameters around it. I see a lot of organizations that overcomplicate the process, and it's so burdensome to the employee that it kind of it dulls it, right? And the intention is there, right? The intention to, as we were talking about, and make them feel engaged and make them feel appreciated. When we bog people down with process, sometimes it takes away that sparkle. So, we don't want to disincent employees to go through this process. If you have the money, if you have the dollars set aside, you want people to do it, make it easy for them.
Nice and seamless.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Now, let's hear from Stephanie Schrader, a awesome data and automation manager at Barton Malow, and how certifications have a big role from the employer perspective.
My name is Stephanie Schrader. I'm a data and automation manager with Barton Malow. We are a construction company here in the Detroit, Michigan area. And what I do and what my team does is we are focused on enabling our individual team members to use the technology at hand, particularly the Microsoft Stack and the Power Platform, to solve inefficiencies during their day. We also are super focused on data and making all the data that we have clean and vetted and then available to our individual team members so that they can use Power BI to take actionable results on the data that we have. With something like Power BI, especially where if you don't really have it right in your calculations, in the DAX and where you're pulling from and how you're, merging things, and you're getting the wrong answers, and you're just kind of winging it, that is a really bad business outcome, right? So having gone through professionally led certifications and training courses gives everybody the confidence to say that, hey, this dashboard that John has published and is hoping people are going to use does have the right answers. We decided a couple of years ago that we needed to enable our workforce to use the Power Platform, Power BI, Power Automate, and in some cases Power Apps. And there are, basically three of us who can handle everybody in our organization who wants to do this. So having a trusted partner to come in and do this professional development, it helps our users, our team members to be more engaged. They trust the learning, having them guided through things, especially with, the boot camps that we have, and being able to talk to somebody who is a true expert and is a great teacher at the same time, really motivates them to come to the training. The way that I chose Pragmatic Works, that my boss and I chose Pragmatic Works, we were just impressed by the depth of knowledge and the style of the instruction, right? So I think those two things together are what makes the magic of finding a right partner. When we did our first boot camp with Jonathan, the fact that he can go through a training and he has a deep knowledge of Power Automate, he doesn't have to say, oh, let me get back to you. Not that there's a problem with that. I mean, there's sometimes you have to do that. But he has that deep knowledge, but he's also enormously engaging. A 4-day boot camp can be really tiring by the end of it, right? You've got 4 days, you're, 7 hours a day. But from start to finish, he's super engaged, and therefore the people who come to it stay super engaged. And I think, that is at least half of the equation between having that deep knowledge and then being able to, keep people interested in continuing to learn and wanting to come back for more in other subjects. We've got several users in our estimating department especially that have, they were interested in Power BI. They've gone to the boot camps. They've built dashboards with the help of some of our team members on the data and automation team. And I know one person is actually transitioning into being like the report creator for that team. So he's really taken hold of it, and he's doing some really impressive stuff with Power BI and putting a Power App into it. He's off and running with it, and it's really awesome to see. And I've also, personally helped a few people start doing things in Power Automate that have started the process by saying, oh, I don't think I'm smart enough to do this. I'm not really a tech person. So I'll walk them through the first several, maybe we'll build one together. And then once they, understand it, this one person I'm speaking about, she, again, she's off and running. And now she's getting a better understanding of, hey, what can I do with Power Automate? And she can go in and build it herself. So these, the Power Automate boot camp that she's been able to attend and the Power BI boot camp that this other gentleman went to was absolutely key to that. And it's really, elevated how they work every day.
Let's circle back to Megan Richardson in our awesome certification smirtification and see a little bit more. Thinking, another question here is big feedback we might get is I'm training my employees, I'm getting them certified, but I'm afraid they're going to leave. I know they could be, they can have they're super smart already. Now they're going to have the certifications to back it up. And I'm investing this time and money, and they might go. So what's maybe a clap back to that type of reasoning I hear quite a bit, actually.
Well, from an HR perspective, you can approach it from two different ways. So you can put a policy in place that says, I'm going to pay for this training. If you leave within X amount of days, you owe me the money back. So you can enter into an agreement, as an HR person. Is it really hard to get that money back after people leave? Yeah. Can you do it? Yes, but you cannot take they have to make at least minimum wage for every hour they earn. Okay, so just don't take people's whole paycheck. I got to put that disclaimer out there. I can't have anybody violating the FLSA on my watch. So that's one. Two is, why would you not invest in your employees? Again, hiring, turnover, these are the biggest costs to employers. So we want to do everything we can to really promote that retention whenever possible. We teach leadership training all the time. And so I hear that same objection, I don't want to give them these skills and they turn around and leave. Well, they're not doing a good job for you now if they don't have these skills. And I can't tell you, the number of people that I have taught, and not one person who sat in class and said, now I can take the skill and leave, right? It's, I'm so excited to be here. It's wonderful to be here. It's great that the company is doing this for me. And it really shows, again, that mutual appreciation. So I don't feel like that. And from studies standpoint, I have never read anything which said, once trained, people will leave. It's just not a thing.
And two, also, if you don't have the skills in-house, you're going to have to find them somewhere.
Absolutely.
And that's usually pretty expensive to do.
Exactly. Usually in HR, we say, you got to grow them or you got to buy them. And, most people can't afford to buy them. So you've got to grow them. I love getting people in who are just excited about learning. And they stay with me for years, and we continue to develop those skills, and they continue to grow with the organization and, higher positions. So it works for me because I'm teaching them my way, right? The way that I want them to learn, and I'm kind of molding them a little bit. I sound like an evil person when I just said that. Excellent. But I really do. I want them to do it my way. Yeah. So, giving them the opportunity and the exposure to those certifications while, working hip to hip with them really helps to, again, it maintains that relationship for years to come. Trust, exactly.
Another thing that comes up a lot is, okay, let's say we have two candidates. One candidate, all the certifications, great experience through projects, and, dabbling into some positions here and there. And then we compare that to someone that's got maybe a couple certifications, but they have the master's, the doctorate, they have all this college experience. if we're putting those two people together, is there a difference? Is it always necessary to go get the second master's degree to compete, or is it more maybe certifications and projects? What have you seen in your experience?
10 years ago, I would have answered this question differently.
Okay.
But that is not where we are anymore. 10 years ago, I would have said, yes, go to college, get the degree, you need it. You've got to have that for the initial round. That's not where we are anymore. We've definitely seen as a nation a trend. I think college enrollment is down by about 35% the last time exactly. The last time I read a study, which was recently. And, it's, people don't want to take on the debt. We're having generations now where, if you think about Gen Z, who's kind of just really entering the workforce, Gen X were their parents, and Gen X is still paying off the college loans. So they see that impact. So what we're seeing from an HR standpoint is a real uptick in certifications, in apprenticeships, in trade schools, in, really focused learning, which I like. I can't tell you, how many resumes I've come across and I'm like, okay, you've got your degree in, psychology, you've got your degree in communications, you've got your degree in theater, so very rarely have I seen where that degree is truly working towards the actual job that you're going for. So, great, you accomplish something that's wonderful. You also accomplish the same thing by getting those multiple certifications. So I'm still seeing what I'm looking for with that, hey, you had a goal, you started it, you worked hard, you completed it. That's really what we're looking for. And I think for me, I would rather know that someone spent their time and their energy on focused learning for what the job that I'm trying to hire them for, then, they're probably analyzing me behind the scenes with their psychology degree. So
I had a very similar, history and poli-sci double major. I know.
Theater and communications.
And
yep.
I sat there at some point and I was like, okay, I've got all this debt now. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what job am I really prepared for? I know a lot about German history, but what do I do? So that's why I really dove into getting my master's degree in education in an actual no thesis program,
nice.
In the classroom,
Love
boots
that.
on the ground. And it was a game changer. I hyper-focused on something. I became the best that I could at it. I hope so. If any students are listening, I try. And it was the one thing that moved me into so many different roles. And then I started working with data, and then I found pragmatic stuff. And then first I started YouTube. Then I self-taught.
Everybody does, yep.
I was like, I want to look at my students' grade better. And then all of a sudden it was, I'm going to take a class. And then I'm going to do a boot camp. I'm going to do all this stuff. And then oh my gosh, wait, I feel like I woke up. I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've slowly kind of made that own viewpoint in my own career path. And I'm sure you see it all the time, as you mentioned it. It's mind-blowing to me. If you can focus on something, have that follow through, go into it, the world is your toaster, oyster. I don't know how it goes anymore. I lost track of the saying.
Well, I think so many folks go into college, not knowing what they want to do, and they graduate exactly the same way. And so, to be able to come out, and really even in my own experience, in my own career, it took 2 or 3 years to be like, okay, wait, I'm good at this and I enjoy it, and really be able to lean into that and say, okay, great. Now that I know this, I went out and got certified, because this was not my intention when I was 18 years old to be here today. But like you're saying, you just boop, here I am. So, it's great once people realize where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to be doing. And that typically does not come at 18 years old. So
Hollywood won't, work out for all of us. So I guess we have to get something else going.
Exactly.
So let's hear from Brian Knight, our CEO and founder of Pragmatic Works. And you'll actually get some serious insight to how I am learning certifications right here in our awesome employee operating plan.
Hi there, my name is Brian Knight, founder of Pragmatic Works. We believe at Pragmatic Works in democratization of technology. And as we look at our hiring patterns, we wanted to make sure we included that as part of our hiring patterns also. So what I want to show you here is some of how sausage is made at Pragmatic Works. How do we use certifications to allow employees to influence their own salaries? One of the most awkward parts of a manager's time is having that yearly discussion around salary with an employee. We didn't want to have it that way at Pragmatic Works. We wanted to make sure that employees could dictate their own salaries based on certain measurements being met. So make it where they own their own salary, in other words. So to do this, to accomplish this, we built our Pragmatic Works operating plan. I'm going to show you a little bit of the secret sauce behind how we do this here. So we wanted to think of things that might mean that you're a junior employee, a mid-level employee, and a senior employee, and have those milestones all well documented into a Power App, and then let the employee, as they cross those gates, hit an accomplish button and get a salary raise anytime throughout the year. So what I'm going to show you on a screen real quick is we have a list of our different roles in the training department. On the left side, we'll also see what items that we expect them to finish as part of that as well, and what the salary repercussions are of that. Some things are just, hey, you're just doing your job, right? But other things do mean that you're advancing as far as your skill set, and that you mean more as far as what you can deliver to the company because of that skill set increase. Now, what this looks like to the employees is something like this, where I go in and I log into my plan. It recognizes I'm a junior trainer in my case, and I can go through, and as I mark certain things off, we can see that then my manager gets a notice to approve that, and it goes right to HR after that. So what does that mean? Well, in our case, certifications are a big key metric for us. Of course, the delivery of a class is, and delivery of boot camp and all that. But as you'll notice in our real world scenario here with the junior trainers, that we see things like, hey, passing this milestone for a Power Platform person means you're ready to be a maker now. Passing this milestone means you're ready to be a consultant out there, and so on and so on. And what the repercussion of that is. It's a way of us making sure that from a certification side that you can practice what you preach. And as I go through these, it also allows us to do a few things as a partner with Microsoft. It allows us to get extra credit with Microsoft, but it also gives us a knowledge gap. So we know this employee knows their stuff because they've at least achieved these milestones. Unlike in the past, when you got certified, the certification does expire now, right? So you do have to renew it through a condensed version of the test yearly. So that means that I'm constantly assured that that employee is retaining that information year after year. So this is a way of an employee of doing this, and they can also go through and simulate their salary here. And as you look at the bottom here, you can see their base pay. And as they start checking these items off, they can see their salary starts to increase also. So it ultimately means that the power is in the hand of the employee, and that there's objective things they can accomplish to see that salary increase each year. And it makes a much more constructive conversation each year versus an awkward salary discussion because they own their own salary in this case. Thanks for looking at this with me. Some of the back office behind Pragmatic Works and how we use certifications here to influence employee salaries.
Let's get into some closing remarks from Megan Richardson about some of the awesome HR meanings with certifications. Kind of circling back to CertXP. Mm-hmm. You got to take a little bit of look and a little bit of test drive, what it's about. How can tools like that, and not just CertXP, but other certification tools with that gamification, with that coaching embedded into it, how can that help both the employer get that continuous learning environment, but also just the individual employee or just a person trying to figure out their life?
Absolutely. I think the fact that it's fun makes a big difference. The fact that it does have the gamification, that it is engaging, that it's easy to use. Again, I think we talked a little bit earlier about, kind of stopping and starting and people not completing things. Yeah. So, having a tool where you're, incented and encouraged to complete and makes it seem like it's obtainable and reachable. That's really important. I think from an employer standpoint, I don't want to pay for you to have a certification and then quit halfway through it, right? I want to know that I'm investing in a tool
all the way
that's going to get you there all the way, right? That it's going to make it easy for you, that it's going to make it fun, that you're going to go tell other people in the department about like, oh yeah, I just rocked this. It was super easy and fun, and here's a great way to do it. I know when I was personally certified through HR, I had the option of studying like 8 of these books that were like yay thick and taking what is essentially the bar exam for HR people, right? So I could do that on my own. Or I could go sit in a classroom setting because, I got my certification a bazillion years ago when those were the options. But I had to have a dedicated time where I sat in a classroom and I had someone teach me this information, because I could not do self-taught learning, right? Because it's challenging, because there's always something to get in the way. There's work, there's kids, there's laundry, there's whatever. Like, something is going to take you away from this. So having a tool, or, in my case, a classroom, where you have a dedicated time, this is what I'm doing, I can see the pathway, I can see what the journey looks like, it just makes it easier and I think less overwhelming for learners.
That's awesome. I similar to me, I need to be there. Yes. I need engagement.
Yes.
I love videos, but it's hard sometimes to sit and watch and go, okay, and then move through. So having some degree of engagement, and that's how really when I was doing stuff through Pragmatic Works to start, I like to actually work with the tool alongside everybody, get the data,
yes,
practice it. And I'll tell this to everybody. I use CertXP too. It's helped me pass exams. We use it in the office. It's not just like, here it's for, we use it too.
I feel like it's like a hair club for men. You're like, I'm also a client.
I mean, a little bit, but
still. That's all right. No shade, no shade.
Oh, geez. It's interesting you say that, because I've seen that a lot with, Greg, you made class fun today.
Yep.
You told a funny joke. It made it less scary for me
Absolutely.
To start the journey. And that's one thing with CertXP. It's fun. It's gamified. It's solar system themed. There's a lot of cool stuff with it. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Well, we, in HR, there's a science to teaching, right? And you know this. And there is a science to teaching adults. And it's completely different than the science of teaching children. And it's so wonderful that you could make that transition, because it's a little bit of a different bag, right?
They're different.
But you have to have engagement. You have to have, real life stories. You have to have practicality. You have to have application, because that's how adult minds work. That's how we absorb. And so to sit in front of a book or a YouTube video for hours on end, we've clicked off, right? And especially, and I hate to say it because, again, it makes me sound old, but people's attention span is so much shorter than it used to be. And so you really, because I'm on Instagram, flip, it's like 20 seconds, right?
That's me doom scrolling yesterday.
So you have to have these type of things, like CertXP, where again, it's that ongoing engagement. It makes it fun. It makes it exciting. We're incented to complete it in order for the material, I think, to really resonate and stick.
For sure. I'm glad you mentioned kind of the difference. It's adult education is so awesome. I've taught probably, anybody from 4 to 82. I think my oldest student has been 84.
Nice.
If anybody's watching that's older than that, let me know. I'll add you to the ticker. But no matter what, it does come back to engagement, confidence, and that's the follow through. It's so easy to pick up and just say, well, I'm done. You lost me at 15 minutes in. If you don't have people by 15 minutes, it's kind of over. It's
Absolutely.
Game over.
Absolutely.
You can see that in any YouTube video, so many programs, you name it. So I'm glad you mentioned that too. And that's one thing that's brought me here is I just liked having fun. I had fun learning, and it wasn't gimmicky. It wasn't too gamey. It was just engaging, and I kept through it. And it's that formula that's hard to replicate.
Absolutely.
Because it's either, this is for babies, or I can't even make heads or tails of this. And that's one thing too, just so many of us at Pragmatic Works are former educators.
Yep.
And that perspective carries pretty effectively into making something that can be uber complicated, Python, Power BI, data, Power Query, cleaning, DAX. I could throw all the buzzwords in the world out there. But if you can break down those walls, it brings engagement to the table. It gets people continuing. And we get it all the time. People saying, I just changed careers. I had someone the other day, I was teaching a public class, and they go, oh, Greg, I'm so happy you showed me this Power BI theme. It's awesome. I showed it to my boss, and they loved it. Then they email me the next day. I'm apparently the Power BI person now. I just showed him a theme. Greg, you got to help me out. I don't know what to do. I helped them out, and now that's what they do. They have a whole new role just on taking that first step, taking that first journey, and it's just amazing to see.
Well, I think what's wonderful though, and what I love about Pragmatic Works is that you guys are really authentic, right? And you come and you approach learning from a very authentic, fun way. And I think adults need that. You know, I can tell you again, like I teach a lot of HR classes and it's boring, okay? So like it is work to make it fun. But adults need that, you know, and really with Pragmatic Works, you know, you guys make it approachable, you make it easy, and it just comes off very fluidly, you know, and I think that's a wonderful way to approach learning because I mean, all those things that you rattled off scare me, you know. I don't know what Python is, but I don't want to know. I'm sure I use it in some way, shape, or form. I'm sure it's an algorithm that traces me doing something.
But it doesn't do anything else.
But, you know, again, I think it's, you know, especially when you're talking about engaging new learners, you know, and from an employer standpoint, encouraging employees to take on what could be kind of scary and kind of intimidating, to be able to say, well, here's, you know, a group of people who make you feel comfortable, you know, and who make it easy for you and who make it fun. It just, again, it only helps me sell continuous education to my employees.
Breaking down the walls, breaking down the barriers.
Exactly.
The big thing we say here is democratizing data, education, technology.
Absolutely.
How do we bring that to everybody? I want everybody to have a seat at the table.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of our mission. Well, I have to say, Megan, it has been great interviewing you today, asking you some questions. Thank you for coming on the show.
Happy to be here.
This is great. We really appreciate it, and thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for having me. Have a great day.